Hi, this is Joe from Vanta. In today's digital world, compliance regulations are changing constantly, and earning customer trust has never mattered more. Vanta helps companies get compliant fast and stay secure with the most advanced AI, automation, and continuous monitoring out there. So whether you're a startup going for your first SOC 2 or ISO 27001, or a growing enterprise managing vendor risk, Vanta makes it quick, easy, and scalable. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. Get started at vanta.com.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Styles McKenzie helping you make those rooms sing. Today's style tip. When it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild, like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Arr, fierce. This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Inside Out Smile. I'm your host Dr. Amber Q, and it's lovely to have you here with me. I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. Now, let's talk about my little adventure yesterday. I don't know why I call all of these things adventures, but they really are adventures. So yesterday, late afternoon, probably about an hour before dusk or 40 minutes before dusk, I was walking to the common. So for those of you who are not in the UK, a common is, I guess, a park. But it's more sort of, the vegetation is more natural, sort of a natural landscape. So it's called the common as opposed to be calling parks. We have parks in the UK as well, but they're sort of, the green is more cultivated, different flower beds, etc. Anyway, so I was walking in the late afternoon and it was quite stormy yesterday. The wind was just pulling at things and there was sort of a little bit of rain, and I don't know, it was just such, I think dusk and sunrise, they're such awe-inspiring moments. So I was, taking my usual path to the common, and it's a beautiful road with lovely houses. And I always love to look at the differing architecture. And it's so interesting, the architecture that you have in different areas of London. So I'm walking along, and as I get to the end of the road, there is a really lovely old-fashioned pub, and it has some old street lamps, and there's a whole line of shops. It's quite a village-esque sort of area, and it struck me that, I don't know, it felt quite surreal, quite Wuthering Heights. If you haven't read that book, you need to. But I wasn't on a moor. I was walking along a road in the city of London, and I looked at everything around me, and I was just thinking about the changing of the seasons, the changing of life, the way we're babies, we develop, then we're in our prime, and then if we're gifted to live later on in life, we reverse in development. And there's a beautiful, beautiful verse in the Quran about this. And anyway, so I was walking and I went to the common, had a look at the water, and it was looking very stormy, and there were branches in the water. Some of the water was still frozen, and it was starting to get dark at this point. But I was just thinking, there's so much natural beauty in nature, and it really makes you feel, one of my friends is amazing. She's always grounding. She's always wild water swimming, and I really admire her. My level of cold tolerance is not as high. But I really felt, it's so strange. You feel part of nature when you're in nature. I think it really calls to one's soul. And so I turned back because it was getting a little late and I have to do my prayer. And as I turned, obviously it had become darker because we were getting close to dusk. And it was just so beautiful. I felt quite melancholic in a way, but I don't know. I don't know why. I think it was just the ambience. It wasn't, I don't know, was it that I was melancholic about things? I think I was thinking about life and how life on this earth is so temporary and we lose loved ones. But depending on your perspective, you either have hope and optimism that you're going to meet them again. And as Muslims, of course, there are things that we can do for our loved ones. We can do good deeds, charitable deeds, where they will get the blessing. And of course, if a loved one has children and those children are doing good things for humanity, etc., that's a different story. So I turned back and I saw those old street lamps that I just mentioned a few moments ago. Gosh, I've got a frog in my throat. And I saw those old street lamps, but it was really strange because I have walked to the common when it's been raining previously, but it must have just been that time of day because the street lamps were shimmering on the wet pavement. So they actually have old street lamps, but they also have a string of light bulbs that are just old-fashioned light bulbs. And this was creating the most beautiful pattern on the damp, wet pavement or sidewalk if you're American. And it was just shimmering. It was just so beautiful. And then just beyond that, as I started walking down the street, there were two houses. One had a string of fairy lights still up. Yes, in mid-January. I love that. And they were still glowing and they looked fragile and beautiful. And further on, there was a tree with fairy lights as well. And I actually stopped and turned around and took a photo of the shimmering lights on the pavement because it just looked so breathtakingly beautiful in that moment. And I felt that just the way these lights could flicker and go out, that's the way the light of life flickers within us. None of us know when our time is up. As my mother says, some of us leave sooner, some of us leave later, but we're all on the same journey. And I think it's more than that now because the world has become so unstable. I think there's so many ways that humanity is being impacted negatively. We have the effects on the planet, but then we also have the effects of tyrannical politicians. We have the burden of seeing half, if not more, of humanity suffering, as well as just the fact that life is fragile. We can be diagnosed or have an accident at any time, you know? So literally, that light of life can easily go out. And I think about, on the other hand, what humanity is, a light in the middle of a storm. Fragile, temporary, but still there, still shimmering like these lights on the pavement. And I think I've been thinking about grief a lot. You know, my mother lost her own parents when she was very young, and it really has affected her. And I was thinking about how heavy it feels when someone that we love is no longer with us, when their voice isn't on the end of the phone, when their laugh doesn't fill the silence anymore. And it's so unbearable, isn't it? The absence of it, the ache of it. But for me, I guess I have that hope, and all Muslims, that light doesn't actually go out. It just moves somewhere where we can't see it at the moment. And I hope that's something that gives comfort if you have lost someone that's dear to you, whether they're human, non-human. And I'm not talking about, nice poetic words, something you'd get on a card or wishful thinking. I'm talking about something that I know, that my soul knows to be true. Because, I don't know, we are flesh and bone and our heartbeat is just ticking. Actually, I shouldn't say ticking, it's beating. And I shouldn't even say beating, it's turning. It's turning between so many things. Well, it's turning between a couple of things, but I don't know, it's just a beautiful thing to think that we aren't destroyed by death. We just move into another plane of reality. And I think that if more people knew that, understood that, I think grief would feel different. I'm not saying that it would be easier, but it would be different, because some people treat death like an ending, but as if the person that we loved just stops, like they've gone, that's it, we just have the memories and photos and things they used to say. But as a Muslim, I don't believe that. I know that they've moved on to a different place, and I think that it would, if people believed that and knew that they would live differently, maybe then people would stop hoarding love, time, safety, certainty, control. And if they knew there was some accountability, maybe they would, I don't know, maybe they would think more carefully about how they treat others with kindness, generosity. I don't know. I feel that the way you treat someone is certainly a reflection of how much light you're willing to let into the world. And I think that I feel that if people knew that kindness wasn't just a gesture, but if it was a recognition of something eternal, maybe, because our good deeds are the things that follow us, maybe people would be kinder, more brave. Maybe people would stop competing with each other. What is that all about? And I think, everyone is just light. We're all just trying to stay lit. And we're all just, I don't know, trying to find a way home. And I think about, why did those people have their Christmas lights up in mid-January? Did they forget? Were they traveling? Were they away somewhere? Maybe they had just come back from their travels and they were too tired to take the lights down, or they wanted to see the lights and enjoy the lights. I think it's fantastic to hold on to light a little longer at any time, because the world is in such a rush telling you to move on, to let go. Christmas is commoditized, but I think life, love, grief isn't like that. Love doesn't end when someone passes, and it doesn't stop when they're not with you in this reality. It just changes form. I think the thing is that if you live your life differently because a loved one was within your life, then that's proof, right? That there's more to us than this. Because, I don't know, I think love is eternal. I do think love is eternal. And of course, in the hereafter, I don't know, in the hereafter, we will see the consequences of all our actions. Yeah, I don't know. And so I think the thing is that we all need light in our life, not to fix us, but just to remind us that we are wonderful. We're all wonderful. And as I walked home, I thought to myself, maybe this is the gift of stormy weather and stormy times, to let us know how fragile light is and life is, and how easily things flicker, and how much it matters that we have to protect the light within ourselves and each other. I don't know. And so even though the world, I feel, is in a dark place, I think that, I don't know, I think that obviously as a Muslim, I know there's more to life than this, but I think that it's really important to treat people like they matter beyond this moment, like their light is worth protecting, because, and as well as our own, because we're not meant to burn out in the storm. We're meant to shimmer like those lights. And in a sense, you know, the soul is just on a journey. It's not just here. And I think that's so comforting, because I don't know. I just think that we've all got to believe. I mean, do you believe? I don't know what your beliefs are, but do you believe in something more when people disappoint you, and when the world is dark for you, and when you are tired and no one is listening? Do you feel that there is something more? I really hope that you do, because we are all light, and storms will pass. And yeah, the people that we've lost are just waiting for us. I don't know. And I just feel that language is such a huge part of that, because life has gotten so fast, and the beauty of language and diction and poetry and prose seems to be lost somewhat in the modern age. Maybe I'm feeling fanciful. I'm not sure. I grew up with Shakespeare. Love that. And yeah, I don't know. Am I just being, I don't know, melancholic because I'm reminiscing? I'm not sure what it is, because today in the daylight, the storm has passed, but I'm still feeling those emotions of yesterday afternoon. I think that we all come across people who are hurting, and it's not always the physical body that needs healing. Sometimes it's that part of them, isn't it, that has been dimmed by the world. And I hope this podcast in some way helps you to shine more brightly, because you are wonderful. And that glow within on the inside is reflected on the outside, and that radiates to others. And that is what this whole podcast is about. I don't know if any of this makes sense to you. I hope so. Until the next episode, let's create connection and not just change lives, but save lives.